Welcome to the Deep Dive. We focus on specific sources to pull out the key insights for you.
Exactly.
And today we're looking at someone who's suddenly very much in the global spotlight. Robert Francis Prevost. He's just been elected Pope Leo XIV.
That's right. And we've got biographical details. His life story, really, from growing up in Illinois right through to, well, becoming Pope.
It's quite a journey.
It really is a story of, dedication within the Catholic Church.
Okay, so let's dive in. Our mission today, to really get a handle on Pope Leo XIV's background, where he comes from, what shaped him, the path that led him here.
Right, to understand the person now in this incredibly significant role.
Think of it as getting maybe a clearer picture behind this big historical moment.
Precisely. By looking at his early years, his religious calling, his work, his stated views, we could build a more, let's say, informed perspective on the man now leading, over 1 billion Catholics.
So where do we start? It's interesting. He wasn't born in Rome or anywhere near the Vatican. Chicago, Illinois, 1955.
Yeah, that does stand out. And it hints at his sort of diverse roots. His father had French and Italian background, worked in schools, and his mother was of Spanish descent. He grew up in Dalton, Illinois, with 2 brothers, Louis and John.
And was an altar boy, too, the sources say?
Those early experiences, they often set a course, don't they? Especially for a religious life.
And academically. It seems like he was sharp right from the start. Commendations, yearbook editor, National Honor Society, even placed high in some yearbook critique from Columbia University.
Yeah, definitely shows intelligence and, a drive. That continued into university, a BA in philosophy from Villanova in 77.
Philosophy and religion makes sense looking back.
It does foreshadow things, yes.
And languages. This is fascinating. Not just English. He's got Spanish, Italian, French, Portuguese.
And reads Latin and German.
Wow, that's got to be a huge advantage in the global church.
Oh, undoubtedly. It suggests an ability to connect across cultures, speak directly to so many different communities, probably incredibly useful throughout his career.
Which brings us to the religious path. 1977, he joins the Order of St. Augustine. First vows in 78. Can you tell us a bit about that order?
Sure. The Augustinians, they're a major religious order, big history. They really emphasize community life, service, theological study. Joining them would have given him a specific spiritual and intellectual framework.
Okay. And he keeps studying Master of Divinity in Chicago, 1982. And that same year, ordained a priest. In Rome, actually, by Archbishop Jean Jadot. Quite an international beginning.
It was, and he stayed in Rome for more studies. Canon law, got his licentiate in 84, then a doctorate in 87.
Canon law.
So good church law.
Exactly. Understanding that internal legal structure is, well, pretty vital for anyone moving into church administration later on.
Which leads us to Peru. He spent a long time there, didn't he? From 85 to 99, roughly.
Yes, a really significant period. Must have been deeply formative. He held several roles, chancellor in Chilicanas,
Right.
Then back again in 88, and for 10 years he ran the Augustinian Seminary in Trujillo.
10 years running a seminary. And teaching canon law there, too, in the diocesan seminary. Plus, serving on the regional church court, part of the Trujillo leadership group. Even helped lead a congregation in a poorer area.
So hands-on experience in a very different context.
Absolutely. Working in Peru, especially Trujillo, likely gave him a real grounding in the challenges faced by the church outside Europe or North America. Poverty, social issues, you might see that reflected later. It's direct exposure.
Then he comes back to the U.S. in 99, elected provincial for the Augustinians in Chicago. So moving into leadership back home.
Yes. And even then, dealing with tough issues. There's mention in 2000 about allowing a priest accused of abuse, Father James Ray, to live in a friary under monitoring, restricted ministry. These are, well, they're incredibly difficult situations for leaders.
How that was handled could offer clues maybe to his approach now.
Potentially, yes. Insights into handling complex problems.
Then another big leadership role. Prior general of the whole Augustinian order. Elected in 2001, served until 2013.
That's a major position. Global reach. Leading an international order like that, it demands serious administrative and diplomatic skills. You're dealing with communities all over the world.
12 years is a long time in that kind of role.
It is. It would have given him a very broad perspective, invaluable experience, you'd think, for what came later.
After that, he served in a provincial role again in the Midwest U.S. Seems like a constant upward trajectory, more responsibility.
That's definitely the pattern. A steady progression, building experience at each level.
And then 2014, a shift. Appointed Bishop of Chiclayo back in Peru.
Yes, joining the episcopate.
Yeah.
The bishops, he was consecrated late 2014 took over the diocese in 2015. So a return to Peru, showing that continued connection.
And the rise continued from there. Apostolic Administrator in Callao in 2021, then Archbishop of Trujillo in 2023, making him the Primate of Peru.
Right. And 2023 was huge for another reason, too. He was appointed prefect of the dicastery for bishops.
Okay, break that down. Dicastery for bishops. Sounds important.
It is, very. Think of the Vatican Curia as the Church's central government. This dicastery is like the department that oversees and, crucially, helps select bishops around the world.
So he was in a key position influencing future church leadership.
Exactly. A very powerful role within the Vatican structure.
And just last year, 2025, elevated to cardinal bishop.
Another significant step. The College of Cardinals elects the Pope, and Cardinal Bishop is a high rank within that group. It cemented him as a major figure.
Which brings us right up to May 8th, 2025. Elected Pope, takes the name Leo XIV, and history made. The first Pope ever from the Order of St. Augustine.
That's a truly remarkable fact. A historic moment for the Augustinians, certainly.
His acceptance, the first appearance on the balcony, the Urbi et Orbi blessing.
Yes, the start of a new pontificate. And interesting, he gave that first blessing in both Italian and Spanish, maybe a nod to his background, his time in Latin America.
Let's shift now to his stance, his initial actions as Pope. What do the sources tell us about his priorities, his views?
Well, based on what we have, he's spoken about bishops needing to lead with authority, not just manage things. Suggests maybe a more pastoral directive style, perhaps.
Okay.
What else? He's also said the church needs to do more about climate change. So environmental concerns seem to be on his mind.
And what about some of the more contentious social issues?
Yes. He's voiced concerns about ordaining women as deacons and reaffirmed church teaching against abortion and euthanasia. Pretty clearly.
Right.
He also, back when he was in Peru, opposed curriculum about, well, what he termed gender ideology in schools, calling it confusing.
There's fairly traditional stances on those points.
It appears so, yes.
Yeah.
Consistent with established doctrine.
Anything else that stands out?
He's shown concern for Venezuelan refugees in Peru, so humanitarian issues are there. And he's commented on popular culture, feeling it sometimes promotes lifestyles contrary to the gospel. He mentioned homosexuality and same-sex couples adopting children as examples.
Okay.
Also opposition to contraception and the death penalty alongside abortion.
It's useful to get a sense of his perspective on these cultural shifts. And the sources also mention sympathy for George Floyd and criticism of Trump's immigration policies.
That's right. It suggests he's engaged with current events, broader social justice questions, even while holding firm on other doctrinal points.
Finally, just a few personal notes. We know he has two brothers, Louis and John. His parents passed away back in the 90s. And apparently he enjoys playing Wordle and is a Chicago Cubs fan.
Hey, yeah. Those little details, they kind of humanize the figure, don't they? A reminder that there's a person with everyday interests behind the public role. He also apparently felt lucky to have had more chances to use his languages than when he was just in Peru.
So wrapping up this deep dive, we've traced Robert Prevost's path from Illinois through deep education, long service in the Augustinian order in Peru, climbing the ranks, prefect in the Vatican, cardinal bishop.
And now Pope Leo XIV, the first Augustinian pope.
We've seen that intellectual thread, the dedication, the steady rise, gaining all sorts of experience, parish work, teaching, running things, leading.
A very diverse background, really.
And it is pretty striking, isn't it? Someone with such strong roots in the Americas, particularly Latin America, through his service, now leading the global church.
It definitely highlights the universality, yeah.
Okay, so here's something to leave you with. Thinking about Pope Leo XIV's journey, the American background, the deep Peru connection, the Augustinian influence, his initial statements, what might define his papacy? What issues will he really focus on? And what sort of impact did he have on the church and maybe even the world stage? Something to ponder.